people.
Hello everybody, hello Ari. You asked me a question, so I'm gonna answer that in a second. I just found a site that I could look at. So apparently my first actual stream that you can find online was April 4th, 2022, right? And the schedule looks crazy from that point on. Just saying. Okay, so September, October, so December of 2022 I started again. Like, a kind of schedule. And then it wasn't until I hit affiliate. Yeah, here we go. Hi mommy, nice first. Wait, do you not have work today? Or did you just come in to be first? Oh, okay. There we go. So yeah, it wasn't until January. I don't know when I actually got affiliate, but it wasn't until January that I was like, you know what, let's do so much of this, you know? But yeah, now to get to the gate. Actually, I'll just do that. Go to Rangers. Game stuff. There we go. I need to pee already. God damn it! I'll be right back.
Did you see what she just said?
Yeah, I already knew that. It runs in the family, lady.
I think Tabs wants me. Oh, I think Tabs wants me to get banned on Twitch. I don't have any chickens, so I can't. Or roosters. That's what it is. I don't have any roosters or anything that I can make it. You know. God damn it! Climb up it. Oh, finally. Oh. Why did I fucking keep walking? Am I dumb? Am I okay? Hold on. Hold on. I can't feel a heartbeat! Oh no. I don't, I might be dead. I'm not sure though. Potatoes without thinking of Wade, and I like that. I actually, I'm like, not mad about it because it's like, he's an inspiration.
Oh, little bromance going on.
Wait, I would totally fuck you if I could.
Hey, yo! That went from a sweet bromance to fucking, I don't know.
I thought about it and I was like, yes, I totally want to go down this route. Also with the shake, if you want a strawberry shake, maybe stick with strawberry Greek yogurt. Okay, now I'm back for real. Okay, let's continue playing the game. Okay, I don't remember what I should do. Cat's own 9. Okay, let's look at that, I guess.
It's a whip made out of network cables. The label says it's called Cat 509 Tails, produced by GetDigital.eu. I guess Uncle Chuck was an impatient system admin back in the day.
Well, walk to robot, walk to shells. Okay, look at the robot.
He's a work of art. I'm looking forward to playing chess with him.
Okay. Look at robot.
It's a defunct robot prototype.
Oh. What I'm trying to remember. Video. Annoying in jokes. Good. I kept those in. Okay, let's talk to Uncle Chuck.
Hello, my favorite niece.
I'm your only niece. George delivered this letter for you, Uncle George. You should be nice to my father. He just wants to help.
You should be nicer to my father. He just wants to help.
Yeah.
Franklin is well-meaning, I will give you that. But he just doesn't have the same passion and vision for pillows that you and I have.
Pillows. I'm not sure I want to take over the pillow factory.
I just wanted to say how much I love you, Uncle Chuck.
I love you too, Dolores. I can't wait for you to take over the pillow factory and restore the family heritage.
That's annoying. Oh, hold on, truth. What's something you really want to do on stream but you just can't bring yourself to do? Oh, hi, Rapid. I actually don't know. What is something you really want to do on stream but can't... I don't know. Oh, well, with Twitch, I just go
Hello, my favorite niece.
On Twitch, I want to be able to play adult games, right? But I have joystick for that. So I don't think I have an answer.
I just wanted to say how much I love you, Uncle Chuck.
You know?
I love you too, Dolores. I can't wait for you to take over the pillow factory and restore the family heritage. Hello,
Something
my
you
favorite
really
niece.
want to do on stream. I don't know. You want to do on stream but just can't bring yourself to do? I really don't know, actually.
Uncle Chuck, I have something for you.
What is it, Dolores?
A letter George the postman just delivered.
Oh, I've been expecting this. I'll deal with it later.
I have plenty of questions for stream, so I have to do, okay.
It's a letter to my Uncle Chuck. The stamps haven't been canceled.
I forgot what I was gonna say. Pick up. Use.
It doesn't work in that.
Open letter, I guess?
I'd better not open it. Uncle Chuck would know if I read it if the envelope is ripped.
Okay, sorry. What was I talking about? Oh, I think I've worn a diaper on stream before. Be able to show my... Well, yeah. Basically, yeah. Wear a
Hello,
diaper
my
on
favorite
stream and be
niece.
able to show people and not, like, be banned and
I
stuff,
just wanted
you know?
to say how much I love you, Uncle Chuck.
I love you too, Dolores. I can't wait for you to take over the pillow
But if I
factory
had
and
diapers,
restore
I'd definitely
the
do
family
it,
heritage.
you know? I did that, a few streams ago. Because I was at an event the day before.
It's Uncle Chuck's check register. I guess that makes it a Chuck register.
Haha! But something like that.
I'd better not touch it. Uncle Chuck gets real angry if I'm too nosy about his business affairs.
But we need the ink bottle. Well, yeah, I'd love to wear a diaper on stream more often than I do, you know? Yeah, okay, so yeah. I don't have much that I can't bring myself to do, I don't think.
Oh, Dolores, Dolores, Dolores.
I'm not sure.
How many times have I told you not to touch my things? But as soon as you've taken over the pillow factory, they're all yours to do with as you wish.
Honestly, I'm really not sure. Look at bed, I guess?
Uncle Chuck never makes his bed.
Okay, I guess we have to go now or something? Oh, wait. Use light switch, maybe?
Dolores, you know I can't work in the dark. Please turn the lights back on. After you've taken over the pillow factory, you can turn off the lights all you like.
What the empty ink? There's another empty ink bottle?
This bottle's empty. I already found an empty ink bottle.
Okay. Well, yeah. Huh. I think I get what you're pointing at. Open. Wait, which door is my door again? I hope it's that one. What's in the? Oh wait, no. Fuck. Okay, here we go. Oh, I did. A favorite season. Fall. I think it's fall. It's spring or fall. Because it's warm but not hot. You know, usually it's supposed to be warm, not hot. Like it's a perfect temperature usually between spring and fall. I like winter too because it's cold. You don't have the heat. You don't have like problems. No, yeah. No, I don't like pumpkin. What am I doing now? Oh, wait,
It's Bite Me World, the best computer magazine ever.
imagine the perks, long hours, applied today.
Wow! An ad for a job at Mucus Phlegm Games, my favorite game company. I hear they make movies, too. This
Yeah,
could
they
be a
do.
dream come true. I'm going to apply. Interesting. There's a modem number to call.
True. I mean, you know what? Fuck it. It could be worse. But there was one time I actually did poop myself on stream, but I don't know how many people like knew it, you know? Walk the computer.
It's my state-of-the-art Commodore 64, with dual 1541 floppy drives and a blazingly fast 1200 baud modem. I'm dialing the Mucus Phlegm modem number. It's connecting.
Well, no, I think How
I
did
can't
do
believe
that?
my computer's connected to Mucus Phlegm.
Welcome to the new online Mucus Phlegm job application program. Just fill
No,
out
I've
your
made
personal
purchases multiple
information and
times.
answer a few simple Mucus programming questions. Then print out the application and send it to Mucus Phlegm. We'll get
Not
back to you in
on stream,
exactly
but, like,
5 days.
You know?
What is your name?
Dolores Annie Edmund.
Thank you. What is your address?
I don't know my address. Card. I don't know what this is. Thimbleweed Park. Was this Washington, Wyoming, Wisconsin, West Virginia, maybe? I could be
Noted.
wrong.
Next, what's your programming language of choice? The language you are most proficient in.
All the above.
Very ambitious. We like that. Please answer the following questions about our proprietary Mucus programming language. You must get all of the questions right to submit your application.
Oh, God.
First question. How many actors can be displayed at one time?
Oh. Wait, I missed it.
It'd be better to find some reference book on mucus before I answer these. I need to go find a book about mucus programming. I don't need these. Pretty much memorized them all.
Look at... I think
This is my
was-
complete set of Tolkien books, including the Christine set of The Lord of the Rings, The Adventures of Tom Bombadil. This section includes the complete history of Mucus Phlegm, the pointed history of point-and-click graphic adventures, and walkthroughs. I don't need these. Pretty much memorized them all.
Look at, I guess? Look at this?
This section includes the complete history of Mucus Phlegm, the pointed history of point-and-click graphic adventures, and walkthroughs for... I don't need these. Pretty much memorized them all.
Yeah, you did, but I didn't, dick. Yeah, I was gonna say autumn, but, like... I don't know. How... I don't even have a phone in here, so I have to go back. Open. Wait, where was the phone? Was it in here? Nope. Where was there a phone? There was. I know that there had to be a phone. So, oh wait, maybe it's in here. Oh, please tell me it's in here because I don't want to get lost again.
Chuck is such a bully.
You scared me, Dad. Talk to Franklin. Uncle Chuck should never have talked to you like that.
Uncle Chuck never should have talked to you like that.
He's right. My idea was worthless. I'm worthless.
Dad, I don't like to see you like this.
I like your idea for the pillow factory.
I liked your idea for the pillow factory.
Chuck thought it was a bad idea, and he's right.
He's
He's
not
never
right.
even read it.
You need more confidence and stop letting
You
Uncle
need more
Chuck push you
confidence.
around.
And stop letting Uncle Chuck push you around.
Thanks, Dolores. You're a great daughter. But Chuck knows what is best for the factory.
I have to think about that for a second. Because I like a lot of genres. Metroidvania is like the top 5, I know that much. Collectathons are a close second,
Hi, Dad.
possibly?
I love you.
Goodbye, Dolores.
Hold on, I don't know what, hold on. I need to see what genres I have saved. Oh wait, I don't have Steam open because I don't have this on Steam. I like puzzle games a lot too. I'm a variety streamer that I even say when someone raids, I am a variety streamer who plays games from point and click to horror to anything in between and beyond. But what I never say is, you should ask my least favorite genre, which is multiplayer or versus, you know? What's that true? Ari! Aw, thank you, Ari, for the game. I'll be playing that soon, I think. I'll start that soon. Thank you, Ari. I very much appreciate it. I didn't... I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted now. Whoops. I like horror a lot. I like platformers. I can tell you in order, probably. Okay, Metroidvanias, horror games, platformers. Hold on, let me write this down real quick. Let me write this down real quick, just so I can read it out. Okay. Sorry, but I'm gonna have to write this out, but thank you. I said Ari, right? I didn't say Hex. Okay, so 1 would be Metroidvania. 2, I think Boomer Shooters, but I could be wrong. Let me keep looking. Oh, no, horror. That's what it was. Horror. 3 is puzzle, I think. I think 4 is Boomer Shooter, but let me check real quick. Oh yeah, 5, if we're doing this right, would be simulator games. Let me keep going. Oh no, wait. After Metroidvania, so Metroidvania, and then precision platformers. Oh, let me spell this right. Okay, precision platformers. I'm gonna go through my list of games, you know, because I can. Uh, God damn it. Hold on, you know what I'll do? I'll do that again. 7, 6, 5. I think 4 would have to be retro. So 4. Retro. I really like retro games for sure. I'm gonna keep calling you Ari if that gives you you know, euphoria to be called Ari. Number 8. Number 8 would be idle games. Sorry, I'm still looking at what I have mastered. I don't like roguelikes, even though I've played quite a few. I think RPGs would be 9. Because I don't always play RPGs, but when I do, some of them are fun, you know? And I think that's everything. Oh, no! I'm just gonna write it down straight up as, like, something that can kind of be a genre. I love Tetris. So that has to be my favorite. Okay, I got my top 10. Okay. Sorry, I'm distracted now. Thanks, Ari. Jesus Christ. I almost said Hex, but I wanna give you Euphoria, you know. Oh, and let me tell you, if you're trans, you definitely look femme. And I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass, that's actually how I see you. Especially in those pictures. Okay! Let me tell you in order from 1 to 10. Tetris likes. You know, Tetris likes ones that work like Tetris. Metroidvania is a 2. Is the second one. The third one is precision platformers. The fourth is horror. The fifth is retro. It would probably be up higher if I try harder. But 6 is puzzle. 7 is boomer shooters. You know, like Doom, Serious Sam, that kind of game. I didn't put point and click, did I? Fuck, I didn't. 8 is simulator, 9 is idle, and 10 is RPGs. But okay. For puzzles, I'll put slash point and click because a lot of them are puzzle-like or have puzzles within them. Okay, there's your answer. Sorry about that. Save game. Right
I
there.
know I have a good idea.
Okay, let me use the phone by him. 4668, I think it was. I hope that was it. I didn't do it right. I have to look it up. On. Is it 4, 6? Oh, it's 4468, I think. If I remember correctly. 1. Use phone. 4468. If it's not 68, it's 86.
Welcome back
Nope,
to
there
the
we go.
Heatron 3000. How can I help you?
I need a hint. How do I get a job? I'm Mucus film. How do I finish this flashback? There we go.
The Mansion Library has books on every topic, including mucus phlegm. Thank you. Goodbye.
Okay, I see. I don't want to have to look for it though. So what I can do is use this.
It says there's a book on mucus here. It's in section 3.1.
So this is okay. It's What? 3.1? Where's section 3.1? Oh, I have to go upstairs, don't I? Okay.
Why not plush toys?
The sign says it's out of order.
Yeah, fuck you. Not like fuck you, but like fuck you. Wait. Yeah, it's 2.6, 3.1. Wouldn't that be over here or something? The hell's 3.1? You know 3.1. How do I... You know what? I'll just go back down. Let's go there. 4468. Thimbleweed hits. Use phone again. 4468.
Welcome back to the Hintron 3000. How can I help you?
Okay, I need a hint.
The Indextron 3000 in the library can lead you to a book which will help you cram for the test.
Okay, sorry about that. I need another hint.
The MUCAS programming primer is in section 3.1.
Yes, I know!
Numbers starting with 1 are on the first floor, so...
Oh, okay.
Thank you. Goodbye.
So it means 1.3 maybe? Maybe it means... Hold on. What's 3.1?
Terrible argument.
3.1. Okay, I think it means 1.3. The test! Found you. Clown's handbook, okay, whatever. The test.
I shouldn't take this out of the library.
Look at. Find out, look. Clutch Revenge? Okay, I have to. Most of the books in the library were written. Okay, sure, Loki. Nice. Today we continue with another installment in our Tales from the Co-op or Coop series. Oh, we have a reader submitted yarn about a chicken gone rogue, which also serves as a meditation upon the sentience of poultry and ethical eating. It was an ordinary night like any other. Twilight had waned and the moon had not yet cast her glow over land. Unbeknownst to Thimbleweed denizens, that night would prove to be an extraordinary one. Enough! Lookflake exclaimed. He had grown weary of his caged existence in the coop, and the time had come to express such. He had since his youth dreamed of a day when chickens and humans could live harmoniously in a symbolic relationship. All thanks to the singular domesticated fowl, never again would chickens be treated with much contempt and considered inferior of intelligence. Nice. Sorry, I just saw LeCluck's Revenge and had to. Because LeChuck's Revenge, I think that was the... Worldwide. Do I have to now. Doc, I believe to be a dog. Please sit on the couch. Oh, thank you. At home, they never let me sit on the couch. Okay, that's funny. Robert, come and take a bit of wine. No, I'm Cheeto Taylor. Cheeto Taylor, come and take a bit of wine. What? You know, every time I breathe, someone in the world does. Have you tried to do something by your breath? Excuse me, sir, to go to the hospital? At the first corner, go straight. What? Okay. At the opera, you must wear an intonated dress. I don't... Okay, this is too smart for me. What noise does an all-pink pig when it falls from the 5th floor? Speck! What? An all-pink pig when it falls... I don't get it. What sound does the doorbell at the monkey house... At the monkey house? Okay, that's funny. What sound does the doorbell make at the monkey house? That's funny. What does the dog say in front of a Christmas tree? Finally, they put the lights on the toilet. Okay, that's funny. What does a worm say seeing a dish of spaghetti? What an impressive mosh pit. That's cool. Who can tell me what happens when a body is immersed in water? The doorbell rings. What? Huh? 2 books on a shelf of a bookcase. How hot it is. Of course you sleep with the cover. Oh god. A cannibal is sneezing. The reason she was a very spicy girl. What? Okay, interesting. Okay, sorry, I got distracted, even though I thought I looked at all these books. Hairdryer jokes? There's jokes here? Funny as... Oh, hold on, where is it? I need to stop. Legend of the Scribbler, this funny jokes about children. I want to look at all of them, but I want the test. There we go. Look. Oh! Fuck! Oh! Okay. Oh, god damn it! I thought I just. God damn it. Okay, that wasn't it. Is that 1.3? Yeah. That was the wrong test. What about jokes? Oh, wait. Yeah, I'd have to go up the floor or something. Okay, you know what? I'll use another. 4, 4, 6, 8. Oh, HNT.
Welcome
No,
back to the Hintron 3000.
that one
How
worked.
can I help you?
Click that at least. I need a hint.
Go up the staircase.
How do I go up the
Thank
staircase,
you.
though? I can't
Goodbye.
go up the staircase.
The sign says it's out of order.
Oh,
No one will miss this out of order sign.
oh my god.
The out of order sign is gone, so it's obviously fixed. Haven't been up here for a long time.
Okay, I'm fucking stupid. I can't believe I didn't think about that. Okay, 3.1. So that would have. Oh, there's more books to look at. Hell's trigonometry. Fun math for 7th grade. Bastards theorem. The lower of account. Math facts. I mean, I don't like math, so you know. No, look at the meaning of life, which is what we wanted to prove this way. Damn. I skipped to the end and it says, just remember the meaning of your life is nothing more than. Oh, okay, sorry. I thought it was gonna be a joke about, what call it? What the fuck was it called? The telescope, okay. I forgot what I was gonna say. I thought it was gonna be a Hitchhiker's Guide reference in the book. What's this? Wait, meter manual, okay. Okay, sorry, I'm just video gaming for the future. Wait, that would be one of these, right? No, wait a minute. Wait, what was that one? Hot Kong the Cat. Okay. Gym Quest. Wait, hold on. I gotta go back. Try fighting Wash Me. Hold on. Alright. Okay. Inviscence. Hold on. I'm missing something. Okay, whatever. What am I doing? None of these are gonna be of interest to me, I don't think. Boys Make Great Pets, Potted Paradigms. Okay. So it has to be on this one, right? What's that? Modern Mental Disorders and Grandma's Remedies. Okay, let's see. The last hit, the beginning. Okay. Let's see. Oh, I saw it. Okay, that one. Ooh, wait, I just saw something. Is this it? Okay. the toilet computer. Thimbleweed 64. Okay, let's see. Can I pick that up?
I shouldn't take this out of the library.
Okay, no. Oh wait, I wanted to see what this is. And there will be a newbie in Commodore 64 gaming. I had the opportunity to get my hands on Maniac Mansion, a graphic adventure. For Ron Gilbert and Gary Winnick from LucasArts. Could be a success? Well, I don't think so. Under the hood. Oh. Oh, it's a review. Hold on, I gotta read this whole thing. Well, I don't think so. Under the hood, it's very interesting. The engine called Scum is very different from what we know these days, but Scum applies to the whole game also. First is the so-called cutscenes. Developers take away the controls from players. Second is the graphics bubbleheads. Oh my god. Third is the characters' blue skins, a hamster who you can kill it with the microwave. Where are the animal rights activists? Tentacles. What would be the next? A three-headed monkey? Okay, that's funny. Fourth is gameplay. You can die or get in a dead end. Won't be a bestseller. Just another technology demonstration about what is a Commodore capable of. Forget the poets on another system. No one will remember this game 1 year later. What is this for? Oh, it has to be for the sequel to Monkey Island. Was it? I can't remember what it's called, but you know. Thanks for the lurk. Okay, so since I'm here, okay. VCR programming. Nope. Graphics.
I shouldn't take this out of the
Okay,
library.
I just need this one. Okay, I think I just need that book. I don't even know where I'm located, so I think I did something wrong here. Actually, why didn't I look at where... Hold on. Open. Hey, Dad, where do we work? I mean, where do we live again? Thimbleweed Park. No, I mean, like, actually, where do we live? Look at.
It's the front door, and it's closed.
I don't know how to. What?
It's our special Mailtron 3000 mailbox. Postman comes once a day.
How do I see where I live? To the woodpile? Wait. Hi, Shroomy!
It's very dry firewood.
Oh, hi. Okay, pick up firewood, I think? Oh, I can pick up firewood. Pick up gas can, I guess? Okay, what? Oh, hold on. Use gas can as firewood?
Good idea, but not while I'm holding the log.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see. Hold on. Use firewood in fireplace. Use gas can in fireplace.
This log should burn really well now.
But I don't have any fire starting stuff. So how are you today, Shroomy? I almost call you Fungi for some reason. Walk to home. Wait, can I? Nope, I actually have to open the door. Okay. Use this.
I should read the mucus primer before answering the questions.
Okay. Look at this. I am going to take a screenshot. Well, not a screenshot, but a picture. I see my face. Okay. Let's check. Actually, no, I want to turn it this side because it's not where the. Okay.
Please answer the following questions about our proprietary mucus programming language. You must get all of the questions right to submit your application. First question: how many actors can be displayed at one time?
Actors. How many actors? Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, that's not actors. Let's see, where is actors? Eight.
Next question: how many parameters can functions take?
Parameters. I think I saw them. Hold on. What does it mean, parameters? Let's see. Parameters. Oh, I get that. Trying to wake up. Oh, I get that. Define for. What does it mean, parameters? Okay, 8.
Next question: when a game ships, it is encrypted using...
Encrypted. Oh, I saw that, but I didn't remember it. XOR encryption. XOR.
Next question: what is the total number of sounds that can be defined for a game?
256.
Thank you for taking the Mucus
How
Phlegm
fucking are
programming
you
test.
today?
Congratulations, you passed the Mucus Phlegm
I'm not
programming
the
test.
soggiest. You're the soggiest.
I answered all the mucus questions
I'm
correctly.
doing good though.
I'm
How are
ready to
you
print out
today?
the application.
I don't trust myself with this. Look at.
It's a letter to my Uncle Chuck. As expected, the post office's poorly programmed auto stamp cancellation machine has
Okay.
failed again.
Pick up.
Amateurs.
Open door. Walk to the hall. That's good to hear. Open this door. Need to open this.
I printed my job application, but the page is blank. Maybe the
Wait.
printer is out of ink.
Oh, I need more ink. Hold on. God damn it. I fucked up. Where do I find more ink? Forgot what door this was. Ink. Can't I just use... What are the odds that I could? You know what I mean? Ink. Use the faucet real quick? Nope. Let's turn that off. Let's try not to raise the rent. Or the, you know. Open this. Ink.
I should stick up for myself.
You know what? Do I want to use a hint? Probably. 4, 4, 6, 8.
Welcome back to the Hintron 3000. How can I help you?
I need a hint. The printer won't do
You
its
need to
thing.
make ink. Talk to Uncle Chuck for some clues.
Oh, okay. No more
Thank
hints right
you.
now. Thanks.
Goodbye.
Okay. Wait, can I just press shift? No, I can't just hold shift. Okay. Open. Open the door. Walk to hall. Let's go through here. Because it'll bring me closer to his door, you know? So if I remember correctly, it's over here. Yeah, it is. Open door. talk to Uncle LeChuck. Uncle LeChuck. There we
Hello,
go.
my favorite niece.
Uncle Chuck, do you have any new printer ribbons?
You know I don't buy new ribbons, I just re-ink them myself. Printer ink is a scam. I
Okay,
didn't
fuck
get
you
rich
do.
by wasting money. Just get some polycyclic hydrocarbons along with methylethyl ketone and make the ink like I showed you.
Of course. Thanks, Uncle Chuck.
Wait, what? Get what, though?
Oh, Dolores, Dolores, Dolores. How many times have I told you not to touch my things? But as soon as you've taken over the pillow factory, they're all yours to do with as you wish.
Yeah, but I don't even remember what he said. Okay. Hold on.
Hello, my favorite niece.
Where do I make printer ink? Let me take another picture of this. Okay. One.
How do I make printer ink?
Printer ink is a scam. Make your own, like I showed you. And if you really want to do it cheaply, just get some ash and gasoline and mix well.
Of
Oh,
course.
ash and
Thanks, Uncle Chuck.
gasoline, got it. But how do I put things on fire? I don't have
It's an empty
any...
glass.
I'm pretty sure I don't have anything that... Okay, so he was... Okay, ash and gasoline. Sell your fall pocket. Ash and gasoline. How do I fucking... This makes no sense. How the fuck do I make that fire happen, you know? How do I make this happen? Ash and fire. Wait, there has to be something over here now. There's no flint or steel or anything like that, so, that's so annoying. So I need some way to... Open the clock, maybe?
I don't want to open it.
Well, fuck you too. Play the Tentacle! That's the game that was the sequel to Maniac Mansion. I know it's a little late to remember that, but still.
Sorry Dolores had to witness that.
I don't want to open him, I want to talk to him. Okay, fine. Fuck you.
Bye, Dad. I love you.
Goodbye, Dolores.
Wait, you don't love me too? What the fuck? 4, 4, 6, 8.
Welcome back to the Hintron 3000. How can I help you?
You can help me by giving me it. The printer won't do its thing. Where can I find the... No. How do I make a fire?
Have you explored the mansion kitchen?
Okay, I need
That's
another
commonly
hint.
known as Ashor's Ut. Did you notice the mansion fireplace?
You mentioned...
Thank you.
Yeah, I know.
Goodbye.
Fuck you. Okay. I have part of it open. Oh, kitchen. That's right. I forgot about that. Open the kitchen door. What's in... Oh, wait. I have an idea. I could be wrong, though.
I don't want to put it in there.
How do I should have kept listening. Open. So ketchup doesn't know. Oh, batteries! Batteries? Pick up batteries? Yes. Now, oh wait, hold on. Close after, okay, there's cheese in here. That's not what I wanted to close, but okay. Open. open. How the fuck do I make this soot? Well, let's say use
I don't think
these
that.
on here.
I printed my job application, but the page is blank. Maybe
What?
the printer is out of ink. I don't want to burn this. It's the only piece of paper in the mansion. I don't think they're good for anything, except growing mold.
What the fuck am I supposed to do then?
I don't want to put it in there. I don't want to put it in there.
Okay. Or do I have 2 dead batteries then if I can't? Oh wait, they said check the kitchen. Oh, please don't tell me I have to blow up something like by. Please.
I don't think they're good for
Okay, I can't
anything,
do it.
except growing mold.
Actually, what if I? No, we can't do that. I can't
I don't think they're good for anything, except growing mold.
use faucet. Okay, I can't use the faucet. Because it's telling me in here there should be something, but there's. Wait. I picked up everything, right? Bread gel, maybe? This definitely won't work. Use this with this.
I don't want to do that. It would make it look red.
Oh, fuck you too. What do I do here? What if I do this?
This log
Skeleton?
should burn really well now.
How the fuck am I gonna? Use that on
I
that.
don't want to do that. It would make it look red.
You know what? Fuck it. See, this is why Ron Gilbert learned from his mistakes in 1 and 2, because I mean the other ones were hard too, but like he made a
know I
hint
have a
system
good
in it,
idea.
you know? Oh no, he did that in 1 or 2, I think, where you could call LucasArts, which if you put in their number for LucasArts or Lucas Games or whatever it's called, it'll just bring you to Disney now. Use this. 4468.
Welcome back to the Hintron 3000. How can I help you?
I need a hint. Where do I finish this one's back? I told you to open the door. Okay. There's only ketchup and poopsie. Wait, next to the fridge or in the fridge? Hold on, what if set it in the fridge, right? Okay, let's.
Carefully handling broken glass.
Oh my
If this
god.
were a Sierra Online graphic adventure, I'd be dead now. But those Mucus Phlegm adventure games treat their players much better. No arbitrary deaths just to extend gameplay. Sure would like to work there.
You know what? You know why I think that's funny? Sierra Games made Space Quest, which has, and I think they made one other game that I can't even think of. I can't remember, but I know Base Jackal played it. Use
I
this.
think I'll just be careful with them. That's good enough for now. Take that, Sierra Online.
Hello? Oh wait, I know what to do. Hold on, I have an idea. Use glass with
It doesn't
pretty-
work with that.
Okay. Use an empty bottle like that.
I can't use the bottle with that.
Use.
I think I'll just be careful
hold
with
on.
them. That's good enough for now. Take that, Sierra Online. Better not. That might start a fire. This log should burn really well now. That doesn't seem like a good idea.
Oh, fuck you, dude. Where am I supposed to put those? Maybe the ink. No, I tried the ink bottle already.
It's an empty glass.
I can't.
I think I'll just be careful with them. That's good enough for now. Take that, Sierra on.
Yeah. Oh, there's the hot sauce. I didn't realize it was behind. Okay. Let's close this. Let's open this. And use this.
I'm not going to drink from something without reading the label.
Oh, fine. Let's look at it then.
Flask of extreme chili sauce by Brian H.J. Comes
Who's
with a
H.J.?
warning. You
Hand
might
job?
breathe fire.
Hi,
Maybe
Levi,
I
how
should
are
be
you
careful
today?
with this.
I'm not soggy, actually. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't. Oh, wait.
Whoa!
There we go. And then what we should do is walk the fire. I know that won't work, but
It's way too hot to pick up now. It should cool off in a little while.
it's fine. Little wire les toi. Okay. That's something I wish I could do on Twitch, is just like show my body, because then I'd definitely be like, nah, see, I'm not wearing anything. If I was, I probably would be, you know? I have the urge to, but I won't. Aha, there we go. Pick up this.
Great.
Or is it?
Now I'm carrying around a handful of black soot.
Okay. Use black soot with
The ink bottle is now full of black fireplace soot.
and then use gas with ink bottle. Why is that so quiet? Why was that quiet all of a sudden? Why is it stereo? I don't want stereo. How do I make it so it's not stereo sound? Or not? Never mind. Okay, it's stereo for some reason. Okay, use. No, that's not what I wanted. No, it's not what I wanted to do. Where's the?
Still impressive.
Yeah. Okay, use full bottle of ink on this.
That should do it. The ribbon is now fully inked. There, the blank paper is back in the Printron 3000.
Okay. Use to print.
Yay! I answered all the mucus questions correctly. I'm ready to print out the application.
There we go. Would you look at
I
that?
always like to watch this part.
Oh, because it had ink in it. I see. What?
Now I just need to stamp the envelope.
How do you stamp the envelope? Oh, wait, hold on. I have an idea. Hold on. Pick this up. I have an idea. Open.
I'd better not open it. Uncle Chuck would know if I read it if the envelope is ripped.
Use this with this.
I have to find a safe way to remove the stamps.
Okay, remove the stamps. This won't work, but we can try.
I don't want to do that. It would make it look red.
Remove the stamps, empty, no. Oh wait, what if, is it fireproof? Is it waterproof enough? That's my question. I almost tried to drink more hot sauce. Oh, Rapid, are you still there? This with that.
It doesn't work in that.
Fine, fuck you too. Can I pick up the poopsie? Save game right there. Poopsie right there. Okay, so use the poopsie.
That doesn't seem to work.
Pick up the poopsie. Use the poopsie.
I don't feel like the taste for non-trademark infringing poopsie now.
Can I pick up the lettuce as well? I can pick up the lettuce. Now let's pick up the cheese. Okay, cool. Nice. Close the fridge. Open this door. Okay, I need to find a way to get rid of the stamps. Or the stamp, I should say. How do I get rid of the stamp? Do I have anything in my inventory at the moment? Nope. I don't think so, at least. Oh no, I can't do that.
I think I'll just be careful with them. That's good enough for now. Take that, Sierra Online. It doesn't work in that.
Okay, so is there a knife somewhere? Oh wait, what if... Wait, hold on. What is that? Oh, it's 10:41. Okay, I was gonna... I was hoping it was lunchtime or something, but nope. Okay, right here. Open this door. No, that's not up too far. Use this with... No, that's not what I wanted.
It doesn't work in that.
Yeah, no shit. Use this with... Is he not gonna talk to me now?
It doesn't work in that.
Oh no, give. That's why it's not doing it right.
Uncle Chuck, I have something for you.
What is it, Dolores?
It's that letter for you, Uncle Chuck.
Didn't you already give that to me? I'll deal with it later.
Fuck you! Don't deal with it later, deal with it now! Look at... No. Give. Oh wait, I don't have the letter. Whoops. Give letter... Nope. Use letter in robot.
It doesn't work in that.
What the fuck do I do? Hold on, is there anything I can do here? Use that in robot?
It doesn't work in that.
Give letter... Nope, that won't work. Pick up something, pick up robot head.
Dolores, I'm busy working on my masterpiece. Don't touch. You can program him after you've taken over at the Pillow Factory. Dolores, I'm busy working on my masterpiece.
Fuck you two. I'm trying my best here.
You can program him after you've taken over at the Pillow Factory.
Wait, what if I use the poopsie?
I don't feel like the taste for non-trademark infringing poopsie now. Looks good enough for a snack.
I didn't mean to eat the cheese that quick.
That hit the spot.
Use and get diarrhea.
I'm definitely not hungry for soggy lettuce.
Fine, fuck you too. What am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to like... You know what? What if I go to... Hi, Rick! How are you today? Oh, can you do your special command that I made for you? Please, I want to make sure. Actually, why am I asking you to do that when I can just check? Okay, like, you figured it out. Okay. Give this to
I'd better
this.
hold on to this.
Go fuck yourself.
I'm at the staircase. Should I use it?
No, because you've already been up there. Actually, why am I going this way? I should open.
Chuck is such a bully.
4, 4, 6, 8.
Welcome
don't
back
worry
to the
about it.
Hintron
I
3000.
understand.
How can I help you?
I need a hint. I need stamps.
There were some stamps on the letter addressed to Chuck.
Yeah, but I need another hint.
How can one remove stamps from letters?
Water.
Steam will remove stamps from a letter.
Oh, steam.
You need to
Okay.
find some water.
Okay, I see.
Thank you.
I see what to do
Goodbye.
now. Okay. That's stupid. Well, not stupid, it's actually smarter than me, you know? It's all Rev's fault. They came in distracting me with their laughing. No, I'm just kidding. Open this door. What I want to do is go over to here. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. Trust me. It was it was Levi. It was Levi, I swear. I almost said it was Rev, but then I'm like, that makes no sense. Oh wait, shit. I did that wrong, whoops.
Still impressive.
I used this. Use hot sauce again.
Still impressive.
Where am I supposed to? Oh, what the fuck am I doing? I'm fucking doing. I was doing good until you pointed a fucking
Still
gun at me. No, I'm
impressive.
just kidding. I'm doing good, Rev. How are you today? Use empty glass with
The
faucet.
glass is now filled with water.
Okay, there we go. Where's... Okay. Use that with
It
this.
doesn't work in that.
Okay, use. Okay. Use this then. I don't know how I'm supposed
Still
to use.
impressive.
I can't use the water, that's right. Oh. I hope so too, Rev. Big hugs. Hold on, I have the thing for that, I think. Yep, there we go. Big hugs. Now what am I supposed to do? I'm gonna have to go back and request probably the last hint, most likely the last hint. Oh no, it's a nugget! There's a nugget
Chuck is
inside!
such a
Everybody
bully.
quick, eat it! I mean what? 4, 4, 6, 8.
Welcome back to the Hintron 3000. How can I help you?
And
Now you need to
stamps
put the water into something.
into something.
Now you need hot water to be in proximity to the letter.
Uh-huh.
Put the letter and the glass in the microwave. Use the microwave. Thank
Oh,
you. Goodbye.
am I stupid? Yes. Is it my fault? Yes and no. Kind of. You know, kind of my fault. Because it's one, I'm not good at point and click games. And I guess I'm not great at puzzle solving. A little bit. Open microwave. Use glass of water in microwave. Close microwave.
That doesn't seem to close.
I didn't mean to close the water bottle, I meant to close the microwave. And then use the microwave. Wrong one. Hold on, I'm not done yet. I'm not ready. Use.
It's closed.
Open. Use this with. Oh shit. Okay. Pick up. No, I wanted to pick up the water. Thank you very much. Wait, is that still a glass of water? Okay, use glass of water in this. Use envelope in this. There we go. Close this. I'm trying to close the fucking microwave. Okay. Use the microwave. Oh no, there we go. No, that's not what I wanted. I didn't want to use it again. Open microwave. Pick up letter. There we go. Close microwave. Okay, and then what we do, right? Should we use the stamps on my letter?
My letter to Mucus Phlegm is now stamped and ready to mail.
No! No, you in an open microwave turntable. Because we're not putting you in the microwave unless you're nugget shaped. Oh wait, you are nugget shaped.
Even if I had stamps, it's addressed to Uncle Chuck. So we just get sent back here again.
One, use this. There we
How
go.
exciting. I hope I get the job.
Okay, that's cute. Wait, is that a toilet? Is he being? Oh no, it's just. Wait, he's being spun down a
Hiya,
toilet.
Dolores. I have a letter for you.
Oh!
How am I actually is
Good
being
luck.
spun
See
in
ya.
a toilet? I think. Okay. Look at.
It's a letter from Mucus Phlegm. Did I get the job?
Open. That's right. I almost forgot to open.
I think I want to open this in my room, just in case it's really bad news.
Fine. What was I doing? I was going to my room. Okay. Okay. Open.
Now that I'm in my room, I'm
Where
still
is the
so
nugget?
scared to
What?
open it.
No, just kidding.
I need to get up my nerve. Come on, Dolores. You can do it.
Okay.
It's a letter from Mucus Phlegm. Did I get the job? Okay, but if it's a no, that means I'm stuck in Thimbleweed Park and have to take over the pillow factory.
Yeah, I get it, but you're gonna have to open it.
Okay, but if it's a yes, what will become of Dad? Stuck here alone with Uncle Chuck. Okay, but... Okay, I'm opening it.
Good, you better. Yep, it was a yes.
It's a job offer from Mucus Phlegm to be a game programmer. I'm so excited! Can't wait to tell Uncle Chuck. He'll be so proud. But first...
Dance, dance, dance. That's some 80s shit. Or was this the 90s? I can't remember at this point. Oh, I could have watched that forever without knowing I should have clicked. Okay, yep. Because I'm just that cool. Open the door. Talk to Uncle Chuck.
Hello, my favorite niece.
Uncle Chuck, I got a
Uncle Chuck, great
job
news.
offer.
Yes, Dolores, what is it, my dear future leader of Pillotronics?
Here, read this.
You're what? You're giving up the opportunity to run Pillotronics to be a game programmer?
Yes, that's what I've
Welcome back,
always
Rev.
wanted to do. Not run Pillotronics. I'm leaving on the first bus out of Thimbleweed Park.
Then, Dolores, you are out of my will. You're giving up over $10 million. That's $20 million in 2017 dollars. Just to pick an arbitrary date in the future. You
Nice.
are dead to me.
Oh, 2017. That's funny because
Dolores
this game was
broke
made in
Uncle Chuck's heart
2017.
and started programming those murder simulators.
Hmm?
Real life murder is the next logical step for her, sweetie. Stop her before she schemes her way into sweet Uncle Chuck's inheritance.
Sure, we'll get right on that.
I'm sure you have cats to feed, sweetie. Ciao.
Okay, now what?
There's no path beyond this point. It just looks like unfinished temp art from a cut room.
Oh, Jesus. Now, what do? Do
I need to stay focused and solve this murder so I can do what I need to do.
I can go this way. You can go this way. Emergency call Eric leave. Okay. Can I actually use this though?
It needs a dime to work.
I don't have a dime though. I don't have a dime. Great. How stuck am I if I don't have a dime? Wait, was that? Oh yeah, that's where I was before. What the hell? Still a dime in. There won't be a dime over there, I don't think, right? Yeah, no. Okay, let's see. Find the murder weapon, fingerprint the murder weapon. Okay, find the murder weapon. So I need to go back. I don't want to. That's a payphone that I used already. Ricky's cake door or whatever. Wait, what was that? Oh, that was just some notebook. Okay. These don't look like cakes.
Hey there! Let's go over to the counter where we can talk. Alrighty now.
I can't quite put my finger on it, but this place stinks of false advertising.
Sorry about that, hon. This used to be Ricky's Cakes, but now we sell vacuum tubes.
Okay.
I don't have time for your life story. Anyway, I'm Special Agent Ray. I have some questions for you.
Oh, pleased to meet you. I'm Ricky Lee, and I'm the proprietor of this little store. What can I do for you, hun?
You can eat my ass, call me a good boy. I'm looking for two for a friend, not me.
What do you think of Chuck?
Oh, it's so sad that Chuck Edmund passed away. He was my hero. His booming economy gave us the bakery, and now his tube-based technology is giving me a chance to keep my store open. I think it's just the boost the town needs.
Yeah, I'm looking for a tube. What do you think about the state
What do you
of the
think
town
about the
then?
state of the town then?
It's not as bad as people make it out to be. A couple of stores have closed, sure, but it's just gonna make way for new, fresh businesses to bring life back to the town. I'm sure in no time at all, the town will be completely rejuvenated.
Sorry.
Since you don't sell cakes anymore, what's your store called now?
Not really sure. I've been bouncing a few ideas around since the pivot. I don't suppose you have any suggestions.
Tubes for rubes, down the tubes. Tube town, YouTube.
YouTube.
Oh, that's a great name. I'm so lucky you wandered in today. The kindness of strangers is amazing.
If you get rich, you owe me a cut.
Okay.
Why did you stop selling cakes?
Well, I didn't have much choice. People used to line up around the block for my muffins and pies, but over the past couple of years, business really slowed down. Oh, I'm not complaining though, because it's given me an opportunity to go in a whole new direction.
Okay, why did you choose to sell vacuum tubes
Why did you
instead?
choose to sell vacuum tubes instead?
Well, hon, it's the darndest thing. At first, I just sold a few spares I had lying around to try and help the bakery. But pretty soon, those bad boys were selling better than the hotcakes going stale on my racks.
Okay, what was that? Are you really this happy selling
Are you
vacuum
really
tubes?
this happy about selling vacuum tubes?
Oh, you betcha. These tubes are my life's calling. I thought I'd miss the smell of fresh bread every day, but the smell of ozone from the tubes is even better. And their electrical glow is as warm as an apple pie fresh from the oven.
Hold on, what the? Oh, hold on, I gotta check something. Okay, I don't have that game now. I think I already know who I have these from. Yep. I didn't know that. You put me gifts. I got gift. Hex, Ari. Oh man, Ari, you're so nice. Oh, I'm so happy. Ari's too nice to me. And I can't do anything back. Oh. I am adorable, but I got some gifts from Hex, and it's just like,
I'm looking for a tube. For a friend, not me.
We have lots of tubes here, over 3,000 different makes and
Oh
models.
yeah, that's right.
Do you know the two-letter model identifier?
I forgot. AQNC
And what is the make number?
68.
Let me see if we have them in stock. Bad news, I'm afraid. They seem to be on back order. Do you have another tube you're looking for?
Tubed out
I'm all
things.
tubed out. Thanks.
Okay, hon. Just holler if you need me.
Okay, let's go back because I don't remember which one I'm supposed to get. This way. I don't want to open. Oh, it is their love language. They did tell me that yesterday, but
No time to talk. We have to fix this slight leak.
okay.
Can I do anything to help?
Well, the Hydrotron's tube is obviously burned out. We could use a new one.
WC67.
Yeah,
Okay,
we're out of that size.
WC67.
Must have been the signals.
Yes, the signals.
WC67. WC7. WC. Okay. Open. Yay. Get over
Hey
here.
there. Let's go over to the counter where we can talk. Well, hi. Welcome to Ricky's Tubes.
I thought you were gonna call YouTube.
I'm looking for a tube. For a friend. Not me.
WC67.
We have lots of tubes here. Over 3,000 different makes and models. Do you know the 2-letter model identifier? And what is the make number?
67.
Oh, did one of the Hydrantron tubes burn out again?
Yep.
Yes. The Pigeon sisters need one right away.
Okay, I'll put it on the town's account. I'll get one for you, hun. You just wait right there. I'll be back before you know it. Here you go. Give the pigeons my regards.
Why when I do that I always have to like move my head? Every time. Like it's not on purpose either. Every time. What the fuck? I was yeah, I even move it just a little bit right there. At this point I'm trying to figure it out. Whatever. Give to.
Here's your WC67 tube.
Thank you. All fixed. Here's our card in case you need any more plumbing help.
We'll just clean up here and be gone soon.
Good, now I can walk the A street. Not just any street, A street. Wait, let's see, what's this? Walk the sun? No. Oh, I thought I saw something for a second. Nichols. My worst enemy. Look at open. For anyone that doesn't get it, it's something I made divines of, like the new Vine or whatever, you know? What the fuck is
Welcome
this?
to the Thimbleweed Nickel. 8 years of experience and 2 degrees in journalism tells me you're a Fed.
Good guess, Scoop.
We're here investigating the murder. Know anything?
Not much, just what I heard over the police scanner. Body found in the river. I'll send my best reporter to check it out in the morning. Know who my best reporter is?
Yeah. Sayu. Clark Kent.
Clark Kent.
If this damn town wasn't such a podunk, I'd have a couple of Pulitzers by now.
What's the deal with your sheriff? Seems kind of odd.
What's the deal with your sheriff? Seems kind of odd-a-reno.
He is an oddball, but so is everyone around here. And it's only gotten worse since Chuck died.
Chuck?
Chuck? Chuck Edmund, the pillow magnet. He pretty much ran this town since the 50s and owns the giant pillow factory. Well, owned. He died a few days ago. His niece Dolores and her sister Lenore stand to inherit a fortune if they'll just stop fighting.
On. else do you know
What
about
else do you
Chuck?
know about Chuck?
He started the pillow factory with his brother Franklin in the late 30s to make pillows for the war effort. Pillows win wars was their slogan. The factory and Chuck
Lars?
were the center of the Thimbleweed social scene of the 50s.
Interesting. Go on.
Go on.
Chuck invested millions in automation and became an expert in AI.
Okay. Agricultural investment, acne intervention, aardvark insemination.
Aardvark insemination?
Artificial intelligence. Computers that can think. He started automating the whole town. People tell me it was like living in the future. That's one of his machines over there, the Copytron 3000. Then...
What?
The big pillow factory fire happened and killed several workers, and the whole place was shut down. Many blamed the fire on over-automation and computer error. But I think Chuck manipulated the sheriff, and it was blamed on the security guard on duty at the time. But it was too late. Chuck was disgraced, and the factory's been closed for years. A dark shell of abandoned machinery.
Okay. We'll need a complete press blackout. You offer home delivery.
We'll need a complete press blackout.
Not with the First Amendment still in place. The core of a strong democracy is a strong press.
Okay.
Don't you mean the Fifth Amendment?
Nope. That sets out rules for indictment by grand jury in eminent domain and protects the right to due process.
Don't you mean the 24th Amendment?
No. That prohibits the revocation of voting rights due to the non-payment of taxes.
Okay.
Don't you mean the 9th Amendment?
No. That protects rights not enumerated in the Constitution.
Okay.
Don't you mean the 12th Amendment?
No. That revises presidential election procedures.
Okay.
Don't you mean the 15th Amendment?
Nope. That prohibits the denial of the right to vote based on race, color, or previous condition of servitude.
Okay.
Don't you mean the 18th Amendment?
No. That prohibited the manufacturing or sale of alcohol within the United States, but repealed in 1933.
Okay.
Don't you mean the 11th Amendment?
No. That makes states immune from suits from out-of-state citizens and foreigners not living within the state borders and lays the foundation for sovereign immunity.
Okay.
Don't you mean the 5th Amendment?
Nope. That sets out rules for indictment by grand jury in eminent domain and protects the right to due process.
Okay.
Do you offer home delivery?
Why? You plan on moving here?
Not a chance.
Well, I'm trying to remember what it is. Okay.
Nice chatting. Got a murder to solve.
What's that? Mr. Violin music is driving townfolk mad. Baby gators escaped from Pet Emporium. Chuck Edmund wins 1 million in Quickie Pal Auto. Okay. Lotto, sorry. This is the attempts world record for biggest Thimbleweed pie. Cryptozoologist mistakes local plumber for what? Botulism scare at S&D Diner. Right at the Hitchin Post. Cryptozoologist and UFO enthusiast. Mom caught in compromising clown car caper. What? Madam Marina says I told you so. Horror author hurting on steel. Okay. I'll be right back. I need to pee again. Because, and hear me out, if you have like mixed berry or whatever, that's strawberry and blueberry, unless you want to taste Go-Gurt, unless you want to taste Go-Gurt, and then yeah, just you know, I can't remember. Use strawberry Greek yogurt. Dude, I was talking about a smoothie, bro. You came up on me? Dude must really hate fucking strawberry smoothies, you know? He gave me another 5. I did it! I won a run and I got an achievement for it! Hell yeah, hold on, let me mark this. Holy shit, I finally beat a run! And now it's in endless mode and I'm so happy! I beat a run finally! Oh, I would not have eaten that.
It's a locked locker. Oh, come on.
Oh god, that's the locker I need. Ah! Oh, thanks for the key. You're not. What's your name? Oh, hi, Dave. You're a nice guy. Thanks for the. He's giving you the thumbs up. I can finally climb out of here. I was born in this hole, molded by it. I wasn't merely a man until I learned how to ice cube. And that's what I found you, Batman. Now perish under my ice. I'm like Mr. Freeze. Have an ice day. Oh, Jesus Christ, that scared me. Ah! Oh, of course I got the art of dying.
Yeah.
Look, it's a bus.
Ooh, a bus.
That looks like it. Ooh. I didn't just get up there. Oh, fuck the bullshit! Ah! God damn it, I can't win. Never remember. Don't eat chat racks, how dare, what are you oh, there's Tabs. Hi Tabs, how are you today? It was just talking about you. There we go, I got it, I made it. Don't die, don't die, don't die, don't die, don't die. No! Oh wait, no, never mind. I'm sorry, I got upset. I got upset prematurely, I think.
No! Give me one! Give me one! No!
Ryan, calm down, Jesus Christ.
You don't understand!
Rev!
I swear to God, I will fuck up your whole bloodline.
Hey Google. Gay puppy noises. No? Holy shit, did you see that shit? Somebody clipped that, that was amazing. I didn't mean to do that, but I did it anyways. I'm amazing.
Hold on. Okay, concentrate. Good boy, good boy.
Sorry for the long wait, but also please scratch behind my ears in real life, please. I need it. Sorry, I had to put on some wear because I've been like, whatchamacallit, bladder incontinent lately, you know? Which, when you're a younger ABDL or a TBDL or younger or whatever, which is really weird. Like, just younger ABDL, I guess, you know?
I used to have a dime, but I dropped it.
Yeah, you wish you were
What
incontinent.
happened to my
Yeah,
dime?
it's a pain in the butt. Okay, let's open.
I
Oh,
lost
would
my
you like a dime?
dimes somewhere.
Hold on.
Hey, if you see a dime, it's mine.
When it's done.
Thank you. I lost my dimes somewhere.
Okay.
I used to have a dime, but I dropped it.
I'm a federal agent, and I have some questions for you.
Know anything about the body found by the bridge?
You know anything about the body found by the bridge?
A body? I thought that was a log wearing a suit.
Do you know anything about the body or not? Where do you sleep at night?
Do you know anything about the body or not?
What body? I thought we were talking about a log.
Do you know anything about the body or not?
What body? I thought we were talking about a log.
Fine, let's see how it is, dick.
Where do you sleep at night?
I have a premium bit of cardboard real estate in the nicest part of the sewers. I've had almost no gator attacks, and there's even a grate for ventilation, so my sewer lung is even better than ever.
Okay.
What's that in your pocket? Looks like a wallet.
I don't have a wallet. I'm a bum.
You really want to play this game?
Maybe I'm just happy to see ya.
It's in plain sight. I don't even need a warrant to beat you for it.
It's mine. Finders keepers.
Ah, so you do in fact admit there is something in your pocket.
Well, I can't give it to you. What would I put my money in?
I don't care.
See? It's not so easy, is it, Hotshot?
I've had enough. I'm a federal agent. Hand over the bloody wallet.
Well, I may be a drunk bum, but I know my rights, and you need a warrant. Now look, you find me another wallet to keep all personals in, and this one is yours. It's coming apart anyway, not like those amazing Ransom the Clown wallets they used to sell before his career hit the skids. Now, Ransom was an adulterer, a cheat, and complete... but he licensed good wallets.
We'll play it your way. For now.
Sorry about that. Do you know anything about the body or not?
Tell me what you know about a guy named Chuck.
The man was an ass, and I'm glad he died of a heart attack. He ruined my life over nothing.
Yeah, sure he did.
How did Chuck ruin your life?
Mr. Edmund made sure I was blacklisted in Thimbleweed Park. My so-called friends turned their backs on me. My watch repair business mysteriously burnt down, and I lost everything. Couldn't get dinner reservations, let alone a job. In the end, all I had left of my old life was my beloved Stradivarius.
Okay.
Chuck must have had a reason to ruin you.
I took his girlfriend out to see that lame insult clown one night. But in my defense, Chuck changed girlfriends more often than he changed shirts. Well, how was I supposed to know she was flavor of the month for the Pillatronics Playboy?
I don't know.
We'll talk later. Don't leave town.
Where would I go? Have you seen my dime?
I gave you a dime, shut up. What's in here? Walk to the cult books. Okay, open.
The monkey paw knows.
What's that? Heard the voices of Hexaholic, a light approach. Okay. I'm not as good as a wink to a blind horse. Got the vegan voodoo, I don't care. Spoiler, do I have to? Because I kind of want to.
Don't touch the books unless you know what you want. Don't touch the books unless you know what you want.
God damn it. I can't. I know damn well what I want. Can I talk to you about, you know what? Hold on.
Don't touch the books
Fine,
unless you
fuck
know what you
you.
want.
Talk to you.
Welcome to the Thimbleweed Park Occult Bookstore. I'm Madame Marina. Are you here for the hexes, the summer blowout sale, or based on those suits you're wearing, my tax records? I don't get too many visits from suited and booted federal agents these days.
I'm Agent Ray. If you've got nothing to hide, you've got nothing to fear. For now.
Well, all right then. How can I help?
By the river.
Do you know anything about the body by the river?
I know everything that goes on around here.
Okay, so spill it.
Okay, so I don't know everything right this minute. But if you're willing to get your hands a little dirty, I can find the answers you're looking for.
Okay.
What do you need to help us find the killer? I'm not afraid to get my hands dirty.
I need to go on a vision quest to find the answer. But I can't really reach out into the void without a little bit of assistance. If you can get me an agaricus fungus visionum delectamentum mushroom from the sewers, I might be able to help.
I'm pretty sure that's a controlled substance.
And your point is?
What is this place?
It's the county's primary source of occult books, knowledge, and services. You need hexes, curses, cure-alls, or curios? You come to me.
Okay, I get the idea.
You need voodoo, hoodoo, fortunes, or flim-flams? You come to me.
Enough. I get it. Jeez.
You need cough drops or coffee filters? Hey, you go to the quickie, pal.
Hold on. Can you really hex people?
Can you really hex people?
I sure can, no matter what the Consumer Watchdog Service says. Might not always come out exactly as you want, but spirits work in mysterious ways. So if you have any complaints, take it up with them.
Fun for you. Okay.
Did you hex that idiot clown Ransom?
I'm very proud of that curse. He was being a jerk and he needed a little beat down with the karma bat.
Remind me never to piss you off.
Hold on. Wait, I want notifications to this out, don't I? Hold on, I'm confused. Hold on a second. Oh, I can change. Okay. The fuck? Sorry, I'm trying to see.
What's your deal?
There's not much to tell. I set up my shop in Thimbleweed after finessing my craft on the road for many years. After all, there's only so many nights you can vomit peyote and pull cactus needles out of your ass in the desert before it becomes old news.
Hold on.
How did you get into this voodoo crap?
I suppose when I realized I could get baked and make money doing it.
That wasn't the answer I was expecting.
I don't know what to tell you, dear. I like tripping balls, and with the money I rake in from my curses, I'm gonna retire on a yacht in the Bahamas.
I suddenly feel like I picked the wrong profession.
Hold on a second. Settings, notifications. Yeah, settings. There's no notifications thing though, is there? Weird. Notifications, there it is. Wait, what? Hold on. Okay, why did you open up
Why
in this
did you open in
town?
this crap hole town?
The vibrations. This town has a dark and weird energy, which makes it perfect for occult business.
Do you mean an energy, like the signals I've been hearing about?
No. Those signals sparking through the air lately are something else altogether. I don't know what they mean, but I know it isn't good.
Ah, there we go, I figured it out. I think. Oh. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
There's nothing yet. Plant named. Okay, I thought this was something else. Well, I thought this would be somewhere where I could get something, you know, but nope. Open. Sorry, am I distracted? Yeah, I know I am. Hold on, I need to be right back. What the fuck was that? Oh, that was amazing! Oh, if only I got it that try. Okay, good boy energy, good boy vibes, good boy vibes! Ah! I like being called good boy, shut up. Good boy energy, good boy vibes. Watch, he'll be back. I think he's gonna be back, honestly. Oh, he's not? Oh. Wait, did I get a sad ending? Wait, are there 2 endings to this game? Are there more endings than just this one? Okay, Drew, fuck you! You actually got me there. Fuck, I thought it actually ended on a sad note.
You're like, here's my regular nightstand. Here's my other nightstand that has all the goodies in it.
Here's my nightstand where I put my clothes, and this is my nightstand where I put, well, you know, just look. And then they look and they're like, Jesus Christ! I don't think I'm safe. What the? Ah! Oh, okay, that was startling, as you can tell, because I didn't actually like scream. I'm in a crazy poop. Hey, look, butt! I like butt. Oh, yeah, that's kind of hot. I mean, why? Oh, yeah. That was a nice butt, though. Elena and Nathan sitting and drink. Kissing. First comes love, then comes marriage, then comes the realization that marriage is in shambles, which then leads to divorce, which then leads to depression, which then leads to alcoholism, which then leads to acceptance, which leads to a new relationship. You know what? I'll skip this one for now. Oh, I love this one. It sounds so good, and it's just him on a marble machine just cranking it, you know? Not cranking it as in cranking his hog. I mean, he's cranking. Oh, there's another word I know, quesadilla. I mean, right? Quesadilla? Huh? I don't just want one dilla, I want a whole case of them.
Why is this so hard, chat?
Because my makeup made it that way. Oh wait, you didn't mean that! Oh, I am so sorry, I didn't mean to... I shouldn't worry about the coins though. Ah! You motherfucker, fuck you! Oh, I'm stuck. Oh no. Oh, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Ah! That guy came out of fucking nowhere. A stick figure with a diamond head and cat ears.
Oh no, somebody stole the cat's legs!
Yay, we did it. Okay. He knocked on my door, that fucker. Ah! Motherfucker, what did I do wrong there? Was I supposed to turn off the... Oh. Can't find hazelnut chocolate. I'll make you some hazelnut chocolate. Hold on, get the diapers.
Stinky.
It was gross but funny. Instant oatmeal. Oh my god, that's so funny. You know the oatmeal thing that ABTL people do?
Yeah. Yeah.
We were just talking about the diapers and somebody came in, there's no instant oatmeal. We know what they were doing with that. They weren't gonna eat that.
They definitely weren't going to eat that.
Oh, I'm doing good. Holy shit, that scared the hell out of me. Oh god, I saw something and it's gonna attack me, isn't it? Oh no, it's right there. What the fuck is that? Whoa, what the fuck are you? Ah! I was scratching my head, so I wasn't expecting that. Fuck you! What the fuck is that? Oh, fuck. Fine, turn off. Okay, you figured it out. What?
What? You want to fight? You want to go? You want a piece of this? I'll take you out. I feel like a bad habit, boy.
Yeah, like you could drop a bad habit. No, don't you fucking dare. Give me that back.
Oh, you swore online.
I do it all the time, doesn't matter.
Oh, but if I do it, it's
No, I was talking about, you know what, never mind, I won't even talk about it. I want the true secret of McGarren. Most of the books in the library were written by our backers and supporters. They assume all responsibility for their content. Oh my god! Ah! I just got fucking rickrolled! I recognize that game. Sorry. Let me just go back to what I was doing. God damn it, I forgot to put my phone back in. Phone back in. Also, I don't know if my fan for my computer is working right now. Is it? Yeah, it's okay. Because I couldn't hear it. Well, for a second. Whatever. Okay, let's see. Where do I go now? Oh, okay. Interesting.
Damn hole in my pocket always losing money.
Oh, shit.
Damn hole in my pocket always losing money.
It's already slightly open. I'm not going to open it anymore. Way too smelly for me. I can use it if I wanted to. A good way to get rid of excess, useless inventory. I don't want to pick that up.
Okay.
Hey, if you see it down, it's mine.
Use this.
Bye-bye, tuna heads.
Should I use this?
Behind jaggy lines from Mucus Phlegm Games? I don't get it. Who'd ever let a game be named that?
I lost my dimes somewhere.
No, give.
Have you seen my dime? Hey, if you see a dime...
He doesn't want it.
Okay, fine. Fuck you too.
I lost my dimes somewhere. I used to have a dime, but I...
Throwing it away. Throwing it away. That doesn't seem to work.
Okay, it won't let me do that.
Hey, if you see a dime, it's mine.
I just realized something. I found the murder weapon already. As far as I know, at least. Oh wait, shit. Open. Oh, I was wondering what that was. Fingertron, Bloodtron. What's this? Facetron. Actually, hold on. What if I use this? Okay. Look at Facetron.
Insert 2 photos of an individual and the Facetron 3000 will verify a positive match and print out a report. Fully voice activated. Stop reading and start talking.
Okay. Use this, I guess?
I can't use it until I find some chainsaw gas.
Whoa, what the okay. Well. Which one was it that I can use for the... nope, nothing there. Please, somebody can open these drawers and not have anything happen.
Just a bunch of files. There's a fingerprint book here.
Oh, okay. Pick up the fingerprint book?
I don't want to pick that up.
Oh, I already have the fingerprint book. Okay. Close that. Close that. Open this one.
Just a bunch of files.
Close this one. Great. Open.
Just a bunch of files. Just
Open.
a bunch of files. Just a bunch of files.
Close. Close. So he doesn't know what I did. How do I... How do I find a wallet if there's no wallet, you know? I don't think there's a wallet in here anywhere, so... Okay, so there's no wallet in there. As far as I know, as far as I'm concerned. Oh, fuck's sake. Fuck's sake. Okay, I'll do that after stream. Fuck it. I'm getting so distracted, sorry. I need to remember that. Okay, anyway. Can't go that way. Don't I need a murder weapon or something? What the fuck? Oh, hold on. Open. Can I? Well, I just realized something. Hey, look, I found another speck of dust. I don't know why I'm collecting that. There's like no way I'm gonna get an achievement for it, you know? But what does it say? He's dead, Jim? It's dead, Jim. Oh, it says it's dead, Jim. Okay, I see. What's the where I want to go? No. Well, I guess the next best thing is to go here, right?
I can't open that.
Oh no, that's right. I can't open the doors because they're closed, I think, right?
The doors are locked, and nobody's inside.
Oh wait, what if I go to Chuck's grave? Hold on. God, fuck, damn it. I mean, I guess I understand why they do it like that, you know?
The heavy wrought iron gate is closed. I see a switch inside.
It's oh, I know what's gonna have to happen, eh? Pick up flowers. Huh? Can I pick up more flowers?
I don't need more flowers.
Okay. I should have saved. Well, no, because then I wouldn't have had the flowers. God damn it. Oh shit. I'm so glad I changed where the controls were for stream, because I would have totally fucked up right there. Okay, let's keep going this way. Come in. Ah! Fuck! That was so fucked up. Well, I found this at the pod. Holy fucking asshole! Fuck you! Wait, I did set the R button, right, to reset? Oh, R. Please don't fuck with me when it says reset. Motherfucker! It fucked with me. Let's talk about. Sorry about that, but my mom came to say hi, or not hi, but like, I don't know how to explain it. Oh wait, what's that? Plastic rings? Oh, I don't need to throw these away, I don't think, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Hold on, what's that? I should be able to find a wall down this way, I hope. So yeah.
There's nothing up ahead but road. The town's in the other.
Okay. Still no wallet over this way, I know that much. What? On.
I don't want to pick that up. I can't push that.
Can you pull it?
I can't pull that. I can't budget. I can't budget.
Look at it.
That old tree is blocking the great entrance. Sounds like someone in the sewer is playing the violin.
Oh, that scared the hell out of me for a second. I thought, oh my god, I thought I was gonna die. Holy shit. Or not die because they don't kill you in this game, but I thought there was gonna be an enemy or something. That scared the hell out of me. How long have I been live for? Let me check. Let's use the ad moderator uptime. There we go. Oh, thanks. Wait, Mom. Oh, yeah, milk, please. Oh! God damn it. Mom! Ketchup too! Sorry. So no wall this way. Oh, what's that? Oh, I thought that was a speck of dust. It was just a fence. That would be kind of funny if it was a speck of dust just to find randomly. Okay. Thanks. I have it. Oh. Can I have some steak? I don't usually eat steak with ketchup, right? But I don't like the taste of this steak. I almost said ketchup. I don't know why. It's weird. Ooh, walk the dime. Pick up that. Oh, it just respawns every time I use it, I guess, or something? I don't know. Wait, which way can I go for the... Actually, use this with that? Use this with that?
Saves wildlife.
Okay. I don't know why I'm doing that. Oh, they changed it to YouTube. Nice. Okay, anyway, use dime with this.
It's out of order. The coin slot is filled with glue, the buttons are missing, and the cord to the receiver is cut. Otherwise, it looks fine.
Great. Hold on.
It's out of order.
Okay, fine. Wait, somebody broke the glass on here. What? Look at Tristan, maybe?
If by look at, you mean smell, there's no path beyond this point. It just looks like unfinished temp
I need a
art from a cut
wallet.
room.
Where do I find a wallet? Yeah. I don't know where to find a wallet. I can't use the hint system for some reason. Hold on, let's see. Do I have a... No, because this was the 80s, I think, and they didn't have, like, phones like that, I don't think. What's this? Oh, blood swap? I don't have a swap. Fuck! Watch this be something different. No, the cell tubes. Okay, good. No, look at, talk to. Not look at.
Hey there! Let's go over to the counter where we can talk. Well, hi! Welcome to Ricky's YouTube.
I see you updated your sign.
Oh, yeah. I was just super grateful you feds came and helped me out with that. I was really stuck on picking a name. You city folk sure are slick with your wordplay and your machine-washable suits.
It's not that hard to name a store.
Well, I'm not the most creative person. I mean, my bakery was called Ricky's Cakes, after all. I was trying to be clever with my new brand, but I'm no marketing hotshot. That's for darn sure.
Okay.
How did you get the sign painted so fast?
I just called the Pigeon Brother Sisters.
I thought they were plumbers.
Oh, no. They do all sorts of jobs like painting, electrical, paranormal investigations. You know, that kind of thing.
Do you know anything about the body by the river?
Oh, yeah, I heard about that. It's super sad. The poor guy. Can't imagine anyone from around here doing something so awful.
I can.
Are you sure you don't have any suspicions about the killer?
Oh, no way, Jose. I don't believe for a second
Jose's
anyone
not
in
my name,
Thimbleweed
it's
Park
Ryan.
is a killer. It had to be a drifter, or one of those mean city folks passing through.
You're naive to be so trusting.
Oh, maybe you big city agents can't understand what it's like to live in such a nice little town.
Yeah.
But I know these people, and they are like family to me. Some of them are a bit eccentric, sure, but I just can't picture any of them as a murderer.
Are you sure? Okay.
That's all for now. Don't leave town.
Okay, hon. Just holler if you need me.
I need you. Look at phone book. I already looked at this before. Wait, what's going on? It's telling me up here? What?
I need to stay focused and solve this murder so I can do what I need to do.
I don't... Room 704... Oh! Wait, where do I find the hotel?
Definitely Reyes's notebook. Tempting. But no, I won't.
Wait, I have a cell phone. Where's that a cell phone? God damn
Welcome
it.
back to the Hintron 3000. How can I help you? Explore the new area. There are 2 important things to find. Thank you. Goodbye.
He doesn't have a phone, so that's fucked.
It's sealed shut. No way to open it.
It said there's 2 areas. Right? Oh wait, hold on.
It's a sturdy, impenetrable gate.
I forgot what it said. Over here. Okay. 2. Okay.
Looks like someone knew I was gonna get stuck down here. Unless my kidnapper wrote that as a trap. Only one way to find out, I guess.
I don't have... Oh, shit! I just realized something stupid. Now that I know I have a phone, let's see, open, no, look at phone book, what was it, Eric something or another, so E? I forgot where it was, hold on. R. Eric Lieb, okay, so R. Eric, so it would have to be under R. R. There it is, 4057. 4057. 4057.
Help. Someone is trapped in the sewer. Please call the authorities and let them know. You'll notify someone. Thanks.
Okay. Okay. Interesting.
Welcome back to the Hintron 3000. How can I help you?
I need a hint.
What do you need to call for help? Take both characters to where they can meet and drop the dime to the imprisoned character. If you don't know where to get them to meet,
I
find
know.
some outside light, then follow the clues about the outside. Thank you. Goodbye.
Okay. I need to find another dime though because I. Wait, do I still have that
It's
dime?
pretty rusty and totally out of chainsaw
I still have that dime. I'm good.
Definitely.
Where we can both meet would be in yeah. Walk to the what? Okay. Oh shit. Please tell me that's another speck of dust. Yep. Is that an OCD trait to be
I lost my
picking it up?
dimes somewhere.
Hold on.
Damn hole in my pocket, always losing money.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Oh wait, isn't it this way? It should be this way, right? Yeah, wait, that's another speck of dust. Another speck of dust. I want to get this game on Steam so I can get achievements, because GOG doesn't have achievements for this game. I also need to go through my wish list on Steam to get rid of a bunch of things, you know? It would have to be over here, right? Nope. But I know I saw one somewhere, right? Sorry about that. Let's keep looking. This is not here. It should be in town somewhere, I guess. Okay, there's no speck of dust right there. Wait, he was this way before, so I think it would have to be this way, right? Yes, I think I'm going the right way. Hold on.
Have you seen my dime?
Nope, wrong way. I went the wrong way, whoops.
Hey, if you see a dime, it's mine.
No, it's my dime, actually. Thank you for the dime, bitch. Okay. This way. Okay, maybe not that way. Maybe this way? Wait. Wait, what?
Hello, Reno.
Hi,
Yes, sir.
Reno.
Yes, sir. It is quite annoying. No, sir. Yes, sir.
What?
They have been taken care of. Yes, sir. Permanently.
What?
Oh, yes, sir. Violently. No, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, wrestling was quite good tonight. Goodbye, sir.
What the fuck? Yeah. I think oh. Now I'm able to go this way. Oh, hello.
Not sure why, but okay. Seems like a waste of a good dime.
Okay, I thought it was gonna fall down one of those grates. Okay.
I got an emergency call about someone being locked in the sewer. I should have expected, Reno, it was you. I don't like being interrupted when wrestling is on.
Ah, hello, Sheriff. Am I glad to see you?
This case doesn't seem like something the feds would be interested in, Now, you should head back to the home office of Reno before you get hurt. There is a killer on the loose.
Good advice, Sheriff, but can you get me out of here?
Sure, just follow me. Oh, I will need to blindfold you.
Nothing about this town surprises me anymore.
Oh, there's a bus leaving in a few hours. I think we can handle the investigation from here, Reno.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
We've got a killer to catch.
Talk to.
Any idea what these specks of dust are?
I found some too. I hope they aren't deadly.
There really is a home office in Albuquerque.
Sure there is.
Fuck.
We should go talk to that clown.
Sure. Whatever.
It's an honor to work with you, Agent Ray.
Sit back and watch. Maybe you'll learn something.
I really want to get this case solved as soon as possible.
You're a little eager beaver, aren't you?
Well, I need to get back to solving this case.
Okay. Oh, pick up. Hold on, I missed a speck of dust. Walk back to town. I saw a speck of dust, I think. I don't remember I got it. Okay, no, I didn't. Right there. Speck of dust. Pick up.
I can't reach that.
What do you mean you can't reach that?
I can't reach that.
What do you mean you can't reach that? What? Okay, whatever. How long have I been streaming for now? To make up for the time that 2 hours and almost 3 hours, okay. So we here. Nothing, okay.
Whoa there, little Agent of Reno. You can't just go bumbling around the county without a map. It's too easy to get lost. There is a killerino on the loose.
A map? Seriously?
Oh, yes, and not just any map, but an official map.
Then give it to me?
And where would I find this official map?
Well, the county is plumberino out of them. I guess this really messes up your investigation. I'm sure the head office will understand, Reno. Shall I mark the case as unsolved?
He's a murderer.
I'm a federal agent. I can take care of myself.
And a darn fine agent, I'm sure of. But we have laws around here, and everyone is required to have an official map.
Aren't there some donuts that need eating?
Well, you got me there. Oh, those donuts aren't going to eat themselves. But we have laws around here, and everyone is required to have an official map.
Yeah, you're right.
Damn.
I'll head back to town and find a map.
Ooh, donuts do sound good.
Okay. Let's go over to this lady, find a map. Movietron. What? You know what? Open. Do you have a map? Talk to man in the bed. Sleep mode. Sleep mode. Wait. Leonard. Wait. Leonard. Ah.
There aren't any maps left.
Sorry,
Fuck.
little dudette. The sheriff came by a bit ago and nabbed all the maps. Didn't even pay for them. Something about immature dominion or something like that. Welcome to Quickie Pal. Can I help you find anything?
Yeah, the maps. Come on, let me see what else. Get a face on report, take blood sweat from the body of it. Oh, he was gonna call if I didn't call. Okay, I see. Oh wait, first
I like working a case alone.
give Ray's book.
Oh, my notebook. I thought I'd lost that for good. These means a lot to me. Thanks.
Whoa there, little Agent of Reno. Like I said before, you can't just go bumbling around the county without a map.
A map? Seriously?
Oh, yes, and not just any map, but an
Yeah,
official
you
map.
stole the fucking maps, dickhead.
And where would I find this official map?
Well, the county is plumberino out of them. I guess this really messes up your investigation. I'm sure the head office will understand, Reno. Shall I mark the case as unsolved?
Not a chance. The feds never give up. Or should I say, the Federinos never give up.
I see. Now you're mocking me.
Yeah, you're right. I'll head back to town and find a map.
Ooh, donuts do sound good.
I'll be right back. Hold on, let me pause the game on technical note. I will be right back again. Fuck, no. Fucking great. Thank you again.
But we only need $14 more.
Oh, $8 more. Imagine you buy something worth $8 exactly. That would be so funny.
That would be funny.
And he did! He fucking did! Yeah, whatever. Oh, for fuck's sake, I thought I had... Oh, look at that. Yeah, that's kinda cool, actually. Everybody, I can't. I just can't. I can't, man. I can't do this. I can't do this. Oh, wait, wrong button. I can't do this, man. I just can't. There's so many people. There's so many people here. Have a good day, sir. Like I said, I just can't do it, man. I just can't. Let's see what this is supposed to say. Always. You motherfucker. You motherfucker, I hate you. I hate you so much.
Baby shark.
Oh, I looked at the health bar. No, I knew it! See how close I looked at the health bar every fucking time. Okay, this guy could be a problem. Smith & Lowe's and interior degree. Go fuck yourself, Elixir. Fuck, that was loud. I hate it. That fucking. I was reading something, bro. What the hell? What the fuck? Oh my god. Oh. An animal rights activist engaged to be. Fuck, my heart. Fuck. Shit. Oh god, I almost fell. It's snowing! Where's Snowplowing Guy from Snowplowing Simulator when you need him? Wait, that's me! No, imagine. I forgot about my part-time job as a snowplow! I did it wrong. Damn it. Ooh, sorry, that's hilarious though. Do that. That's not what I wanted, but okay, I guess. That works too, I guess. Cool. Damn it. That works. Okay. Skills that pay bills that I don't even have. Jesus Christ, I thought that was a game, you fuck! Pressing the C key. C key. I'm surprised I didn't fit through that small space. Okay, let's see. I don't think that's right. Hold on. Right, like this. Fuck! Okay, let's see. Oh. I can chunk up. Imagine he's just so mad that he just... What do you want, Gavin?
Are you on with someone?
I'm live, so don't get... No, you can show me.
No, it's not a video. Do it.
What is
it's not
it?
a video you're gonna see.
What is it?
It's an audio. You're
Okay, then
streaming
play it. If it's not a bad audio, play it.
Oh.
Fucking asshole!
I told you.
Why would you do that so loud? Like, Gavin, that went into my mic and through my ears.
I told you.
That fucking hurt. Fucking asshole. Oh, no you don't. I literally just went around in a circle. Oh, fuck, no. Can I really just walk over this? Oh, that's fucked up. Okay, I don't think you can walk over this one though. Oh shit. Moses, I ripped my pants. You did what? Shh, quiet. I ripped my pants. I need a new pair. You stay here with him. I'll go get a new pair. Okay, I guess.
Nervous type, probably paranoid. But we do have to be careful, you're right about that.
Moses, I ran out of underwear. Do you have any underwear I can borrow? No, but I do have a diaper for you. And you look really cute in that. And I was like, damn it. I'll just, fine.
It's like we're living in the futuristic year of 2017.
God, that smells so bad. Sorry, they're in my face. What else am I supposed to do? Okay, that's it. Who wants to fist me? Who wants to? Okay, there we go. I was like, wait, why is it not letting me through? Man, he must be risking to reach. It's a mouse. Don't worry about it. It's just a mouse. Ah! Fuck. I went the wrong way. Okay, that was cool. Okay, sorry, but I did that really quickly and I did not know that. Hold on, that was cool. That was badass. It was badass until I fucked it up. There we go. No, why? Oh god, I'm just like randomly jumping now. Fuck! How did I do that? That was, holy shit, that was fast! I was just, oh my god, I need to clip that. Oh well, shit. I don't want that.
Blah, 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 gum gum suck slurp, gum gum blah, blah, ooh, I love this fat schmeat.
Sorry, holy shit. Ding, finally, Jesus fuck. It's taking too long. I come faster, ding, I come faster than that, ding. Fuck, that was so bad. Please, excuse my language there. Oh my god, what the fuck? You're doing it so well though. You timed it twice by accident.
Tabs the bat asked me, why does catching fire become so stimky as their natural habitat?
What?
Ah yes, the
No.
elusive catching fire 3_. We observe them falling off. As Tabs the bat so eloquently puts it, is it their natural habitat, perhaps? Or maybe they're just a bit shit at Power Wash Simulator 2.
Wow! 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 Did he just say I'm... Wow! Ah! Fuck you!
Good for you, and congratulations.
Well, ever since the... Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. Needed to go badly. Okay, let's see. You walked... Oh,
Whoa
fuck!
there, little Agent of Reno. Well, the law of Reno is the law of Reno. No
Hold on.
wandering around without a map.
I knew that was gonna fucking happen.
Yeah, you're right. I'll head back to town and find a map.
Ooh, donuts do sound good.
Okay. Sorry, I knew my earbud was gonna be a butthole to me. I have to be right back again. Hold on. So we've gotten lots of job opportunities. Set market price. Oh, I thought this said bubble cock for a second. Holy shit. It said bubble clock. I have no idea where I'm going. But that's pretty normal for me when I'm playing a game. Jesus Christ, which one are you? Oh, Rex, god damn it. It didn't scare me as much as it startled me. My best and my succeeding. Nope, just sucking dick.
What did you say about your friend Drew? Shank.
He's not bald, he's just fucking impaired, Shank.
The frame rate or something so I could see frame by frame what I was doing. I did it! I fucking did it! Holy shit!
Yeah, oh no, never mind, I was wrong. I thought I had to, no, don't fall down, no. Okay, that was scary. No! Oh wait, never mind. I'm good.
Oh no!
No, don't slip, don't fall.
Uh-oh.
No! No! Finally see how it is. I'm sorry. It's because it's called baby steps. You can just you know. Oh shit. What was that? I think he just killed someone behind that door. I'm on Riptide's back, motherfucker! And now I'm on his wife's back, motherfucker!
Are locked. Of course, the front seat belt.
The toothbrush is back! Everybody! Guys, look, it's a toothbrush! Yeah!
A little bit different, so let's go have a look at those ones. Do you hear the front seat belt?
I'm sorry, but him throwing the toothbrush in the frame was funny. I don't know why. It's so dumb.
Something right in front. What did I do wrong? Must have missed something. Fucker! Who's that? Who's that? Which one are you? Bree? Seriously? Fuck you. But not actually fuck you, but you know what I mean.
Oh, cool! Game called Yo. No, I've never heard of a game called Yo. I don't know. I've never heard of that. Is it called Yo? Oh, you motherfucker! No, I just you're gonna clip that, aren't you? I can't believe I got hello, welcome back. Kumi, welcome back. Okay, let's see. Your bud. Let's hope this will work now. Okay, anyway, this way. Walk to town. I think I know where to find it, possibly. Why can't I reach that spot?
I can't reach that.
What do you mean you can't reach that? God damn it. Walk to bathroom. Out. Now. Where was it I was going? Oh yeah, I remember now. It took me a second to remember where I was going. There we go. Open the door. Oops. What was I doing? I was doing up here, I think, or something? Oh no, the speck of dust. Can I pick it up though? Okay, I can. Where did he put the fucking...
Just a bunch of files. Just a bunch of files. Just a bunch of
they're
files.
gonna be the same, aren't they? Great. Open desk.
The desk has no drawers.
Oh, great. You know what? Pick up telephone, I guess.
It doesn't have any buttons.
Fine, I'll just use this then. 4468.
Welcome back to the Hintron 3000. How can I help you?
I need a hint. Thank you very much. I need a map. Where can I find a map?
The maps are gone from the Quickie Pal, who might have a map.
Okay.
A business that is interested in local events and history has it on the wall. Look carefully.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Open. I'm trying to think. Which way was it? I think it was this way. Wait, was it over here? What the fuck? Yeah, I know. Nickel News, this is where I want to go. Open. You have it right there. Pick up map.
Do you know this map is a priceless first edition? Please, don't touch.
I need a map though.
Can I help you?
Why can't I take your map? I'm a federal agent.
Okay, that's actually 2 questions. First, being a federal agent doesn't mean you can waltz into a newspaper office and take their map. We have a little thing called the 4th Amendment. And second, that's a priceless original. If you want a map, check the Quickie Pal.
Can I, as a private citizen, please have your map?
Nope, it's a priceless original.
Nice chatting. Got a murder to solve.
We don't have anything, you know? Oh, what if I... Open, close, give, push, pull, use.
The Copytron takes nickels.
I don't have any nickels, right? But I only have dimes. Yay, great. Okay.
Loose change?
Nope, no loose change, I'm sorry. Not really sorry, but you know.
Excuse me.
Be with you in a second. I'm in the middle of sorting. How can I help?
I'm a federal agent. Know anything about the body out by the bridge?
You're a federal agent? I work for Uncle Sam, too. As one government agent to another, I'll do what I can to assist.
Was the doing Zoom moderator and then checking uptime? 3 hours and 9 minutes, okay.
Do you know anything about the body out by the bridge?
No, everyone in town is still collecting their mail as usual. No one from my route is missing, and I would definitely notice if they were. I mean, not to brag, but I did consider joining the feds. It's just not as prestigious or as challenging as postal work.
Okay.
Don't leave town. I have eyes on you.
I'll be right there. Too much sorting to do.
Okay. Wait, what am I doing? I have a phone. 4, 4, 6, 8.
Welcome back to the Hintron 3000. How can I help you?
I need a hint. I need a map. Where can I find a map? I found a map. How
So,
can I
the
get?
journalist won't let you take the map. How can you get rid of her? What's on the table beside the journalist?
Oh, okay.
Thank you. Goodbye.
So there's something next to the journalist, apparently. Oh, shit. Open. Push maybe?
Please don't mess with the police scanner. I'm waiting for a call about a woman on the road making threatening gestures.
Okay, open. I have an idea. God damn it. Glad there it wasn't on the stop streaming button though. Wait. Okay. Oh, I see. Three hours, 9 minutes. Open. Use this.
Attention all units.
See the woman on the east side of town.
Enough screwing around. I've got a case to solve.
Or what was it that it said? Hold on. It's not what I wanted. Wait, is there a way to... Hold on, I'm trying to spec dust.
Please don't mess with the police scanner. I'm waiting for a call about a woman on the road making threatening gestures.
Woman on the road. Okay, woman on the road. Woman on the road. Open. Woman on the road threatening gestures.
Attention all units. Enough screwing around. I've got a... I can't open that.
And I'll use...
Breaker 19. Breaker. Attention all units.
Huh?
Enough screwing around. I've got a case to solve. Attention all units. Enough screwing around. I've got a case to solve.
Attention all units
Attention
again.
all units.
See the woman by the old circus.
Enough screwing around. I've got a case to solve.
Attention
all
again.
units.
See the woman up by the old state.
Enough screwing around. I've got a case to solve.
Use.
Attention all units.
See the woman by the dirt road.
Enough screwing around. I've got a case to solve. Attention all units.
See the woman I did by the dirt road already, right? Yeah. There we go.
It's not much, but we're short a story on page 4. I sure hope no one tries to touch my map while I'm away.
Don't worry, I promise. Open. Open. No, open the fucking door. Nicholas, open. Pick up the map.
I know it's beautiful, but you can't remove it.
What the fuck? Oh, I know what to do. Hold on, I think I have an idea of what to do. Hold on. I need to get the other guy though.
I need to stay focused and solve this murder so I can do what I need to do.
Yeah, fuck you two spam. Are there 2 spam messages? There are 2 spam bots in my chat. Holy shit, that's funny. Open. Okay. Open. Oh, wait, use.
Attention all units.
See the woman by the dirt road. Swing a machete.
Enough screwing around. I've got
Okay,
a
fine,
case to
fuck you
solve.
too.
Attention all units.
See the woman by the dirt road.
Enough screwing around.
Nope.
I've got a case to solve.
Wait, hold on.
Enough screwing around. I've got a case to solve.
Welcome to the Thimbleweed Nickel. 8 years of experience and 2 degrees in journalism tells me you're a Fed.
We're here investigating the murder. Know anything?
Not much, just what I heard over the police scanner. Body found in the river. I'll send my best reporter to check it out in the morning. Know who my best reporter is?
You?
If this damn town wasn't such a podunk, I'd have a couple of Pulitzers by now. This pillow factory fire story is my ticket out of here.
Nice chatting. Got a murder to solve.
Ready? Can I open any of these file cabinets?
I don't want to open it.
Fine, fuck you too. Let's see, use.
Attention all units. Enough screwing around. I've got a case to solve. Attention all units. Enough screwing around. I've got a case to solve.
I already did this, but
Attention all units.
See the woman by the dirt road swinging a machete?
Enough screwing around.
I can't
I've
anymore.
got a case
What
to
the
solve.
fuck? 4, 4, 6-8.
Welcome back to the Hintron 3000. How can I help you?
You can help me by telling me what to do. I need a map. I found a map. How can I get it?
Can you give her what she wants to hear on the police scanner? Have you seen another scanner about?
Yes, I have.
The other scanner is in the sheriff's office.
Yes, I got that.
You'll need both agents to solve this puzzle. Go to the sheriff's office with one agent, leave the other in the
Yeah, I
nickel
got
news.
that. I have
Place
that
a
now.
call with dialogue choices related to what the journalist is waiting for. Thank you.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Are they waiting for something else then? I don't know. Talk to Natalie.
Can I help you?
Do you offer home delivery?
Why? You plan on moving here?
The town's got a charm to it. We'll need a complete press blackout.
Not with the First Amendment still in place. The core of a strong democracy is a strong press.
Why can't I take your map? I'm a federal agent.
Okay, that's actually two questions. First, being a federal agent doesn't mean you can waltz into a newspaper office and take their map. We have a little thing called the Fourth Amendment. And second, that's a priceless original. If you want a map, check the Quickie Pal.
Can I, as a private citizen, please have your map?
Nope. It's a priceless original.
Nice chatting. Got a murder to solve.
Hold on. Use this, I guess.
Please don't mess with the police scanner. I'm waiting for a call about a woman in town with a weapon.
Woman in town with a weapon.
Attention all units.
It's not much, but we're short a story on page 4. I'll be back soon. Don't you touch my map.
Too bad. It's so sad for you.
Hello. Just leaving? I assume that's a map in your pocket, and you're not just glad to see me. Please return it to its frame. Thank you. Well, that last story was a bust. Maybe the next one will be better.
The fuck?
Can I help you?
Can I, as a private citizen,
Damn it, I did the wrong
please have your
fucking
map?
thing.
Nope. It's a priceless original.
Nice chatting. Got a murder to solve.
Please don't mess with the police scanner. I'm waiting for a call about a man out by the circus littering.
Circus littering, okay. Circus littering.
Attention
Man by
all
the circus
units.
littering. See the man out by the old circus. Dropping cigarettes.
It's not much, but we're short a story on page 4. I'll be back soon. Don't you touch my map.
Oh wait, I have an idea. That's fucking annoying. Hold on. Where do I find a nickel? Hold on.
The Copytron takes nickels.
I don't have any nickels. No nickels. Where do I find a nickel? Hold on. 4, 4, 6, 8.
Welcome back to the Hintron 3000. How can I help you?
I need a hint. I need a
Someone in
nickel.
town will give you 5 cents for a small service. Look around town and see if you can figure it out.
Let's see, is that any of my shit? Nope. I'll be right back. Apple no seems fuck in front of your mother like that. Even though I can do it, but you know, I can do it. I do it a lot. I mean, my mom doesn't like it, but I do it anyways. Jesus Christ, you fucker. Gay as, like, anyone, you know, that likes either the opposite sex or whatever, you know. Not just the opposite sex, but like...
I was about think for a second before you speak.
Why? What? The Q in LGBTQ means queer, you didn't know that?
I got that part.
Trans.
I got that part too.
Okay.
You did not hear yourself when you spoke.
What did I say?
You said being gay and liking the other sex. Like, that's being straight.
Oh, fuck! No, I didn't mean to say that. I didn't mean to say opposite sex, man. I feel so stupid right now.
What do you want?
I want to say a lot of bad words.
No, you can't say a lot of bad words. Hey, Waffle.
Bad words, bad words, bad words.
They couldn't even see you, so.
That's okay. They know that I said bad words.
I don't even know if they could hear you.
I said it loud enough. It goes right through your mic.
Yeah, they could hear you.
Yeah, of course they could.
Yeah, Waffle had just said that's a lot of bad words and put the laughing face.
Don't make me go to college. Oh no. I'm fucked. They'll kick me out. They'll kill me. They'll eat my ass and call me a good boy. I mean, what? Ah! Rex, you motherfucker! You found the photo. Is it pretty? It's as pretty as you. It's not. No, I'm just kidding. My buddy told me that the people who live there chose to settle there because of the maze. Dun dun dun! It's so hard to get through. Even the monsters got. Or Jack, that'll work too. Jack, actually. Okay, I'm back now again.
There is a sign
What the
about it on the
fuck?
wall of a business.
What the fuck?
Go into the Quickie Pal and see that you can exchange a bottle for 5 cents.
Oh
Keep
my
bottle
god,
in your
I'm
inventory
stupid.
to Leonard. Thank you. Goodbye.
Okay. I think it's this way if I remember correctly. Yep. Open.
Welcome to Quickie Pal. Can I help you find anything?
Use this with you. Oh, for fuck's sake, use this. Oh no, give. God damn it.
Hi there, I'm Quickie Pal Leonard.
I found this bottle. I'd like 5 cents back for cleaning up the environment.
Well, I'd like 5 cents from you for taking your bottle. Just kidding. Quickie Pal humor. Here you go.
Okay, open. Open. Wait, shit. Wait, I have to go back this way. Open. Open.
Stay out of my way, and you might learn something.
Give this to him.
Happy to help.
Open. Open the door. Go this way. Open. Oh, I see what I have to do, I think. Hold on.
I need to stay focused and solve this murder so I can do what I need to do.
Can I help you?
No, you cannot.
Nice chatting. Got a murder to solve.
Please don't mess with the police scanner. I'm waiting for a call about a man on the road with a suspicious animal.
Man on the road.
Attention, all units.
A man by the dirt road.
It's not much, but we're short a story on page 4. I'll be back soon. Don't you touch my map.
Too bad I'm gonna touch your map, bitch, cause you're a bitch chick. Okay, pick up Frame County map. Use Frame County map on this. Use that with this.
That makes no sense.
Okay, use this with this. Okay, thank you.
What a nice copy. And in color too.
Pick up this one. Use which one's copy? Wait, which one's copy? Look at this one.
It's a map of the county. This should help me find my way around. It's a map of the Thimbleweed Park County area.
Wait, which one should I put up then? Use this on here.
It's a map of the Thimbleweed Park County area.
Loose change?
I'm going the wrong way. Shit. I'll save once I get there.
Whoa there, little Agent Reno. Didn't they talk about following the rules in federal agent school?
I have an official map right here.
Oh, I see. Well, that looks legit, Reno. Odd. I thought yeah, well, I guess the law is the law. I guess I'd better return all these maps to the Quickie Pal.
Part 3, the arrest. Ooh, I'm getting close to the arrest part. Nice.
I feel like we're getting close to cracking this case.
The only thing you're getting close to cracking is my patience with you.
Let's work together and I can get on with my... I mean, we can get out of this town as quickly as possible.
Agreed.
We need to identify them.
Let's get cracking.
Okay, hold on. God damn it, I can't hear shit through this earbud. What the fuck? Let me guess. Hold on. Or can't I hear anything? Oh yeah, I paused because I took it out. Okay, you know what? I know who we're gonna raid anyway. Let me save real quick. Save game right here. Hold on, let me just save it again just to make sure I saved that. Save game. Okay. Okay, /raid. Oh wait, I didn't need to put an at. Whoop, if I can spell right. Okay, so if everybody can join me for raid, that'd be greatly appreciated. If you cannot, however, that's okay too. Copy out any of these special messages and paste that out into the chat of who we read out to. We are going to raid Banjo the Ruddy, as you can see, who right now is playing Paper Mario, I'm guessing for the N64, yes. So, if everybody can join me for a raid, that would be greatly appreciated. If you cannot, however, that's okay too. I hope you all enjoyed the stream. I hope to see you all next time, and I hope you all have a great day and continue to have a great day. This is a fun game, and I'll try to finish it sometime next week.